Hello, lovelies, and welcome to the August the 3rd Sunday edition of Breaking the Block. I am your host today, Mama Maggie Ward, an independent author, stroke survivor, migraine overcomer, and the lovely Shiley, all hail the feline overlords. And today I have with me Rachel D. Adams, author and co-author of the Dragon Tasker series. You want to intro yourself, dear?
I can. I'm an author. I'm also, before that, was a writer and worker through all kinds of nice little jobs here and there, especially advertising. And I run the Aggressively Helpful Writing Advice blog on Substack, too.
And we have several people who have come in. Welcome, welcome to all. And very first thing off, Laura Nettles has dropped a question. So before we get to the topic of the day to do with the August 80K, hold on a second. I'm sitting on my sweater and it's like pulling weird. Okay, we're good because yes. So Laura asked the question in the chat. What is a first draft to you? Do you give any thought to pretty prose? Just get the bones down, telling yourself the story? Is it a glorified outline? I need to know these mysteries.
For me, it depends on where we're going. If it's collaborative writing, it's that very first, we're just going to flow through the story and do what we want to do. I think we just kind of put some pretty prose out there. Maggie can tell you we're overwriters, so we tend to go a little bit too far sometimes with our prose. But she's usually getting the second draft as a beta reader. We've gone through and we've just kind of barely skimmed it, made sure that it sticks right together, and maybe taken out some of the errors that we saw along the way. But that's just our basic draft when it comes to our collaborative writing. Now, when it comes to my other writing, when it's myself, I kind of do this thing. I mean, there are some things like anthologies wherein they're very specific about what they want in a story. That's when I'll do an outline, or what I call goal posting. I'll put what they want in order, and then I try to match it with my writing. Otherwise, I just kind of freehand it. It's going to be what's coming out of my brain straight onto the paper, and that's my first draft. I don't I do not worry about editing, grammar, and all that stuff on that very first draft. But then I go back on the second draft and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for me, at first, because I have such elaborate outlines, like a paragraph per chapter outline, and then these little notes in here and there that says, insert this kind of scene here, insert this kind of scene here, where I basically pantser write. So I do a combination of plantser writing. I plan, but I also pants. So I go in the middle. But honestly, for me, the first draft is telling myself the story all the way through, focusing mainly on the primary characters. Now, when I write a first draft, the secondary characters are like pop-up characters for my zero draft. They just are popping in and out. They do have a backstory and some character building because I do that as part of my world building, but they just pop up here. They're just pop-up characters in the first draft. And when I go back and do the second draft, I usually add a third more words to the total because, yes, hi, my name is Mama Maggie, and I am an overwriter as well because I am writing out those threads of the secondary characters all the way, weaving them all the way through the story, smoothing out the plot lines and the arcs of the primary characters. And so, yeah, by the time I go through it, I have this mindset of I am writing these characters and these events. And then when I go through it the second time, I'm like, okay, I have to write these characters intersecting with these events. So as I'm filling in the B plot threads and the side characters, I usually add a third more words to my word count. Sometimes it ends up doubling. Here's a perfect example. The first version of Relic of Time and Prophecies, which was Relic of Time and Prophecies, and The War of Prophecies, which is the first two books of Relic of Time series. To get the very first story that was the short fan fiction that was those two together was about 35,000 words. Those books are now about 90,000 words each because I split them and I expanded the plot and I filled in all of the massive holes. And this was 10 years ago when I was first learning to rewrite afterwards. But I'll write something now and it'll be 60 to 80,000 words on the first pass. And then when I go back and I tell myself the story again from the side characters, from the B plot, and I fill all of that in all the way through. And that's what would technically be a second draft, is actually what I consider my first draft. Because just like spitting out that initial story is just to get it on the page, and then starting to fill it in with the pretty prose and the descriptions and the characters doing things and stuff like that. But when I originally start planning a book, I do a method called writing the tree, where I have an idea for a scene and a character interaction in my head, and I write that first. And the very first thing that I do is I write 10 scenes with these characters, with the main character, with side character, 10 different scenes for the story. And then I go back and I plot out, I need this chapter here, I need that chapter here, I need this event in this chapter, and I build it up so that usually by the time I finish doing a writing the tree with a new story, I'll have like 20 pages, plus the character profiles and the world building. And then I will lay them all out onto my bed, because I can't put them on the floor because the dogs will help me then. And nobody wants doggy paw prints all over their work.
No.
So I lay them out and then I put them all in the order I want. And that's how I start writing this. I start building the tree from the leaves and branches that I have collected, from the branches that are the characters and the leaves that are the scenes. I build the tree out of that. So first draft, but everybody writes differently. I am not a professional. I have never claimed to be any kind of professional. I just like to scribble. So the first draft to you could be just like a really big outline. But it is definitely you telling yourself the story. I think it's more than an outline, though, because usually when you're writing the first draft, you're not just bullet pointing things. You actually have scene building in it. You actually have character building in it. So, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do the first draft. Everybody works on their first draft differently. People who are heavy outliners, especially people who are pantsers like you were, transitioning into being a plotter, the problem with doing intensive outlines is a lot of them say that they feel like they've already written the story because they've done such a detailed, intensive outline. And I think we've talked about this before, about how if you're trying to make that transition and you're going into an outline, maybe make the outline less detailed so that squirrely writer brain doesn't go, oh, I've already written this story.
Yeah. Whereas I don't even go back and I don't put it in any kind of plot at all until the second draft. Sometimes then it goes to the beta readers. we get it back. And as I'm doing revisions, sometimes I'm like, ooh, that's a good point. And I'll move things around. I have, let me see if I can grab it out of here. I have sticky notes. That's what I have. And they are telling me in the plotting tool that I use where everything goes. And the sticky notes are actually just the chapter headings. So that way I know where I want to put them for any particular scene. Here we go. Here's an example. So this one says Act 5, the finale. And see, I've got everything that could possibly be on the finale. And then I just put sticky notes with the chapter titles that I want to use. And that way I can move them around if I decide, or if a beta reader or an editor comes back at me and says, hey, you know, that particular scene probably would do better, you know, at the front of the book. Or we need to find out about this sooner. But I've already written it. So the first draft's already there. It's just that now I can move it around. And if you haven't tried it, I don't know if you're good with electronic stuff, but Plotter is a really good program when it comes to stuff like that. If you can do it that way. I need it tactile. So that helps me out. And I edit as I go. Yeah. So it's kind of like, you know, the first draft is complete. Parts of it read like a third draft. I get that from other people sometimes because we are intense with our first draft. But at the same time, we're willing to move things around and adjust things when it comes to that draft. Especially after a beta reader gets hold of it.
See, I got this a year back in 2022. I don't remember who put this out, but they put out this thing that was like, do the blurb outline. What's your book about? And it's got like scenes and summary. I've got all these novel ideas. I use my character building, my 30 question interview that every author needs to ask your character. It's a 30 question interview about your character, about their behavior, their personality and stuff. And then I have 30 questions for world building. But basically, I've kind of adapted this system into my writing the tree system where after I get the first few themes and I will type them in, and like this one, I've got them typed in. I've got notes scribbled on the pages all over the place. And this is Cowboy a la carte, which I've already written. I'll write what is good about it. I'll outline chapter 1, write the blurb before I get started, different versions of the blurb also, because the blurb is something that can always change. A lot of times I don't write the blurb before I start the story. I'll write something very, very simple, and then I go through. But if you're finding that you feel like you're too prose heavy from telling yourself the story on the first draft, go back through and change the color of parts that you think, well, maybe I can leave that out. Maybe this is just world building that my reader doesn't need to know, or that I can explain in a different way, because there's a lot of different ways to present world building without it being exposition. Interactions, dialogue, reading a book, reading the newspaper, listening to the gossip while sitting in a coffee shop. There's a lot of different ways. Laura says, I edit as I go when my first draft is complete. Parts of it read like a third draft. It's my prose. I've never really attempted to write not a non-linear story.
Well, we don't write
process.
nonlinear. So,
Yeah,
so we
you
do,
can,
but we're able to
you
like go back and change things if we need to. Yeah.
yeah, you can write linear, and but the thing is giving yourself the permission to cut things like when you're doing that, or to change the color of them to and leave a little note, maybe delete this, maybe move this elsewhere. um I just straight into how can I make this sound like it's a polished novel and ready for the betas. That is totally a pantser thing. That is totally trying to make it
Are
as
you
polished as possible
are you
as
also
it's
one of those
coming out.
people that went to college or even high school and okay, so this was my experience. In high school and in college, we were told to do a first draft of a certain paper or whatever we're working on. And I would turn mine in, and the teacher's like, "This isn't a first draft." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's not a first draft?" And they're like, "Well, it's too polished. It's not a first draft." And I'm like, "But it is a first draft. I literally have no other copies of this. I didn't go back and do anything." Some of us are just made that way. Our brains are just wired that way. So yeah, it's the main thing is just be willing to go back and change stuff once you get feedback. Or even like right now, I'm going back through and some of the changes I'm making isn't stuff that my betas have told me about. But as I'm rereading it on this next draft, I'm like, oh, there needs to be more emotion here. There needs to be less dialogue here. There needs to be something else happen here. Something just didn't bridge these two scenes, and we need something else or whatever. And so just make sure that your brain is willing to adapt your story instead of saying, oh, well, this is because I had a hard time with this. This is how it is, and that's it. This is my story. Mm, not necessarily.
Maybe do what I do, and when you're going through it another time, focus on a different set of characters and how they're interacting with the events. Tell yourself the story a second time from someone else's perspective.
That's good advice.
Yeah. Miranda says, I need to write the first draft in pencil in a notebook, but after I write out the bullet points, brief outline, and then type it up while revising, I spend a lot of time revising it. I've taken a few creative writing classes at the local college years ago. They were fun. All right. I hope this helps. Everybody's writing process is so different. And there's always somebody that's trying to sell you a program. And this will
Yeah,
work for
beware of
every.
that.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions about working through first drafts? Clear as mud, Laura? Laura says, I'm thinking about going for a Master's of Fine Arts.
Ooh, I think that would
Nice.
be right up your alley, actually.
Yes. You're very welcome. All right. So, the topic today, because we are doing, Rachel and I are both in the August 80K, trying to get as many people to do that as possible. The first breaking the block question we have today is, do you have a regular writing routine, or is it just whatever, ... Whatever, whenever you can write, whenever you can have time, just whenever the family's not bugging you, whenever the job isn't all there, whenever the fur babies aren't in your face.
You want to go first?
Yeah,
Everybody feel free to comment.
Yeah, I used to have, everyone knows about 5 a.m. Writers Club. I did it for 5-6 years. I get up early in the morning before the house, before the family. I get that writing in while everyone else is still asleep. And then once all the hubby's off to work and the kids are off to school, then I would spend mid-morning doing some writing. And then the pandemic hit and my writing routine started slipping. And then I fought my way back into it in 21, 22, and 23. 24, I started having more migraines and just my writing routine just went. And like the last 2 years, I have really been struggling with having a regular set writing and editing routine. Years ago, back 2017, I made a friend. She was doing this, writing 18,000 words in August or editing 80,000 words in August. And she was like, yeah, do this thing with me. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do this thing with you. And it was basically to get back in the routine after summer with the kids, my kids and her with her grandkids. And so it just kept the routine that I'd had for years just broke down in 2024. And so I am now trying to reestablish that writing routine, that regular daily writing routine, 7:00 in the morning, getting writing done, 7:00 at night, which is 7 mountain time because I'm in the mountain time zone, getting stuff done. And I'm finding it's really easy to slip back into that habit of just doom scrolling, reading other things that are not my work to be read on. I really, in April, May, and June, hard focused on editing to get the Darkness of the Devourer, which was the 12th book in Relic of Time Wars, out, and then the last 2 of the Pagosa Winds quartet out, which was Winds over Pagosa and the Windflowers, to get those out because I just fell behind. And I'm struggling. I am admitting myself that I am struggling to get back into a regular routine. And, doing all the words August, it's 3 different word counts, 18,000, 48,000, and 80,000. And there's 3 different plans, which is something I added to it. The plan 1 is doing all 31 days, just like we used to do for NaNoWriMo. There's no Mo Nano, so we're developing our own struggle. So doing 31 days is how many words do you need every single day. The next one is the 5 days a week, just like a business, just like a job. You go in 5 days a week and you write. That works out to 21 days in the month of August. And then the Weekender is like Sky SD Hedges is doing that, where she's writing 2 days a week. So that's 10 days in the month of August. So it's having this routine, trying to redevelop this routine. I'm hoping that I can get back into pace for writing and editing, where I'm not spending 2 or 3 days barely touching 1,000 words of my manuscripts that are just sitting on my laptop waiting for me.
That is a lot of it. So for me, it's a matter of having a career outside for the most of the time. I have just found time to write whenever, having 3 kids, just whenever, around all the busyness and everything. Then after the right before the pandemic hit, I was able to go back to do some schooling, do some training, and also to help out with the household and everything. considering our transition, and the hubs was contracting, so he was traveling a lot of the time. So I was the one that it fell back to me to be available for all three kids in their formative years to be able to make sure they could go here, there, and everywhere. And then, so even then it was around their schedules or around his schedule or, whatever I happen to be doing around that schedule. And so I've kind of fallen into chaos. Even after moving, even after becoming almost an empty nester, um, there is still a lot of chaos. Like Maggie was saying, there's the doom scrolling, there's the falling out of habit constantly, and then the health issues and having to work around that and stuff. And so I saw this as an opportunity to go, okay, well, let me see if I can just break a habit. Shaylee's like, no.
I don't mind her being on my lap, but she must make biscuits with her little murder mittens.
That hurts. So that's where I am in this. I want to at least, and I feel like I've set myself up in my own space now, and we've gotten past the chaos that was the first quarter, and then wound up flowing into the second quarter. Maybe I've got a chance now to set up a habit so that at least from maybe around 10 a.m. up until around 7 p.m., I've got strict time flow of doing these writings. So that's my hope, is that I get into this habit.
Yeah. Laura says, wherever, lately it's been in cafes on my days off. Miranda says, I tend to have a daily writing schedule. Writing sprints throughout the day helps with motivation and accountability. So going through the AuthorTube writing sprints definitely helps people who need that more classroom like experience. Carrie says, since I wake up at 4 a.m. with a paying job already, I try to do my writing during the evening, but my husband is home and awake and I am struggling. I feel that a lot because it's recharging time, writing time, that time that fills you tends to get lost on the wayside when you have family demands around you. During the time you would like to be recharging, you have other people calling on you. Cat Paw says, I've totally fallen off the proverbial wagon. All the stress around moving, the heat of the summer, it just shuts my head down. As someone with PDA, I can't routine, but roll on October or when I get AC again, I will try to find something new that works for me. I just can't think when it's over 35 degrees Celsius in the office in this humidity. That's like temperatures in the 90s. Temperatures in the 90s Fahrenheit for those on this side of the pond. Yeah. There's a lot of things that get between people and their writing routine. Like when we started setting up all the words August, I was actually supposed to be taking care of my daughter as she recovered from surgery in Virginia. And so I had it all set up for that. And then her surgery got bumped a month and a half from mid-July to end of August. And so, yeah, there's going to be a couple of my streaming days here where you're getting pre-recorded content because either A, I'm traveling, or B, I'm dealing with stuff for that. I actually, all three of my daughters have like major doctor's appointments this month that are coming between me and my streams that I'd already scheduled. So I'm having to move stuff around. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that come between you and your writing routines. Sometimes it is a real struggle. Oh, wait. it's a real struggle to face that. And so let's talk about what do you think would be the most beneficial thing to help you reestablish your routine?
For cat paw, it's AC. And I get that. That is very hot to work in. Like if I'm in pain or anything like that, I can't concentrate on my writing. So if I was that uncomfortable, I would be the same way.
Yeah. For me, it's normalizing a schedule, because I have OCD goal brain. I like things in order. In This is the routine, and that is what makes OCD goal brain happy, is having a routine. And right now, I'm not having that. I have not had that since February, March 2024, when I got COVID and I started having a migraine swarm, and it has been on and multiple medications. And yeah.
Carrie, did you, yeah, I feel that, because when I was with, well, I don't want to mention I was with major healthcare corporations here in North Carolina, and I also had an autistic kid, and he had to go to a specific special charter school that was out of the way. So I wound up getting up very early, making sure that the other kids were actually getting going so that they could handle stuff. And they actually wound up having to handle themselves a lot of the time. And then I had to take him to his charter school. And then I had to go all the way back around into Durham to go to my job. And then I had to come back through and do the same trail to pick him up and then bring him back to our home. And then I had to deal with making sure that they had their food done, making sure all the clothes were clean, making sure if I had to pick somebody up from a special after school extracurricular thing to do that. It was just, and then helping them with homework. And then when the Hubs was home, it was more like, okay, well, and then there's no break at all at that point. So it was about, at that point, trying to find time, little bits of time in between, or waiting till the weekend even to actually do anything. And I had to put my foot down. I had to be like, okay, this time is for me, and I'm going to do this. Or if I was struggling with that, even I would we were lucky enough to have a coffee shop and a cafe nearby wherein I could just go, and I had enough money that I could get like one of their small things, or a soda or something. And they let me stay there for a lot of the day, so that I didn't have all these other people around me constantly asking me questions. That's tough.
Yeah. Cat Boss said, a part-time job so I don't have to hunt for gigs and feel more secure. Heather says, I also have multiple appointments for my son this summer, and I know I've mentioned it before that he is off school since the first of summer and starting school. Disclosure, he's autistic with other related disabilities. So Heather's super busy. I know Shannon has been dealing with the same thing as Heather. The autistic son is out for the school and summer camp and summer activities. And I need to have a regular schedule for the things in and out of my writerly life. It's been a crazy summer. And that was a part of the reason that Jean did this in August, was because school was starting and it's getting back into the routine. And I think that's why my squirrely little brain latched onto it and liked it so much. It's because it's resetting up this practice routine. And it is hard because the world is chaotic, the world is loud. And that is leaching into the energy of our families and our personal lives, and like empty nesters. Still, you would think like you're an empty nester, it's just you and your spouse, and you're just home with the dogs, and no, I'm running to doctor's appointments for my now adult children because they can't drive themselves home after this appointment, or they need someone who knows their medical history better than they do there with them, or they just want mom because ick, I don't want to do
Yeah.
this for myself. And and once you start being a parent, it doesn't stop. And
Just because they turned 18 doesn't mean
as
nothing.
as independent as your children are, makes you super super happy. But when the mama call comes, everything goes away. Carrie says, I'm thinking I can do some writing before bed since I tend to go to bed later than him, or maybe for an hour or so before he gets home, sneaking in that time somewhere.
It's important for my mental health to sneak in that time, or at
Yeah.
least back in that time frame when everything was so busy. Now it's mainly just me because my brain has gotten so used to sneaking in time in that chaotic mess. I've got to get back in the habit of actually going, no, now, do it now.
So I write in the car. I will write or edit in the car, like, because we're an hour from town, and usually someone else is. If I'm not driving, um, I will write or edit in the car because of the distance. Um, and yeah, I used to write at the bus stop all the time when the kids were
On the
still in
bus.
school. I would write at the bus stop, waiting for the bus for the kids to come home because our bus stop was like 2 miles from the house. And there was like a 30-minute window for when it would be there. So you would have to get there at the earliest possible time and stay there till the latest possible time because country roads and cows and mud and yeah, welcome to rural life. Cat Paw says, I really miss having a proper time off, like 2 to 3 weeks to relax and write, and not the constant scratching for my money to survive. Wishful memories of summer school holidays. Rose tinted glasses on.
Yeah, because when you're in the middle of that, you are constantly looking for a way out of it, right? And one of the things that I always was talking about was the fact that I always wanted to get out of corporate life. As a matter of fact, I've got a tattoo that goes all the way down my arm because I'm like, I don't want to ever be back in corporate life. And at the time, that was a no for
Yeah,
corporate life.
yeah,
So I was kind of
visible
like,
tattoos. Yeah.
I was kind of like, this is my way of saying no. I'm not going back into corporate life. But you also, it's like, but it's steady. It's dependable income. That kind of thing. Um, so yeah, it's one of those things where you're in your situation and in kind of like my situation, it's a matter of, okay, so how many hours do I need to allot to make sure that I get all of this done that's on the side, blurbing for people, reading critiques for people, the advertisement to get more of those freelance work in, making sure that I get all of my articles out every week because I make money off of articles too. So all of that, where James is concerned, the websites, making sure that the websites are all updated, all constantly, making sure that that's handled and taken care of. So it's like you've traded the easy, I don't have to think job for the, oh, now I'm going to have to hustle because nobody is doing this other part for me job. It's a matter of making sure that you get organized so that you can make sure that you can depend on, or at least try to depend on, your gigs just as well as you did your sure thing job. So that's a whole. I bet that could be a whole other subject matter that we could put up for gig writing, freelancing, stuff like that, because it's a different mindset shift, definitely. And I hate this for the hubs because this is James, this is my hub, and I see it. I
Yeah.
see it.
My issues that I deal with most of the time is that my job is very mentally taxing and it impacts my creative side um, more than I care to admit, which brings us a perfect segue to question number 3. What mental and emotional stresses are depleting your energy and stopping you from establishing a creative routine? And this is something that we all face. This, for me, it's been health issues, not just my own, but my children's and um, friends' health issues, and sadly, several deaths in our associated circle, several traumatic illnesses, and your energy that you used to have to focus on writing, editing, creating, filling the well just gets sucked out into the world. And by the time you have the time to sit down and actually do the creating, all you want to do is doom scroll. All you want to do is watch funny reels. All you want to do is watch cat videos. Shut up. Um, all you want to do is sit at Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever subscription service and just
That's why I haven't
episode,
re-upped
episode,
Netflix, but people are keep telling
episode,
me about stuff.
episode. Yeah, hubby and I are we were both big Castle fans. He like even bought me all the Castle books.
Oh, neat.
So we are rewatching Castle together. We have an agreement. We're not allowed to watch the episodes without the other. And part of our empty nester reconnection thing is that we are watching 3 to 4 episodes of Castle an evening, like at dinner or after dinner. And yeah. But it's just there's so many things that are depleting us all right now. And people are saying, oh, it's Mercury in retrograde again. Yeah, Mercury is only in retrograde for a few months. That doesn't explain the 5 years of chaos. Oh, it's the super solar minimum. The Maunder minimum has bloomed into something that's twice as big as normal. It's all that.
I've become really, really attuned to the first 2 quarters of every freaking year messing me up. That was when I found out that I had cancer of the eye. That was when James wound up having to go in for surgery. That was, it's like the surprise medical situation with William happened this year. And it's just like, what in the world is up with the first 2 quarters of every freaking year? I guess since since the pandemic. I mean, I'm like, it has been almost every year for us.
For me, it's like March. Something happens in March, like the end of February, beginning of March. Something happens in March, and it seems to carry through spring and into the summer. And it's just like, really, really, really.
So all these plans we have for our creative stuff, it keeps getting pushed back until right about now, which is why I was like, you're going to do August? Yes, let's do August, because at least then I'm past that little point in the year.
The episode thing of chaos, yeah.
Yeah.
He says, this is why I spend hours watching YouTube vids on manga and manhwa recaps. My brain is so full of EHR tech building that there is little for anything else. Yeah. Heather says, I have been binge watching a lot of baking videos on YouTube.
Hey, yeah. Angel.
I will sit down and binge watch the Great British Bake Off, because how do you not know how to make a tortilla? I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, and I guess that's part of the reason I wanted to do this project so much. how to break my brain back into doing this. When I wrote the first book, it was so easy once I got into HB90 and stuff like that. Now, that can be too granular for some people, and honestly, some of it is way too granular for me too. But it gave me a time management system so that I could look at myself in the mirror and go, you had time for that. So what did you do? You had time for that, but what did you do instead of writing?
Yeah.
And it held myself accountable to, oh, I I completely just binged watched something, or I got scrolling on YouTube and I just didn't stop, and so made me held myself accountable. And so that's why I wanted to do the August challenge, because I was like, I'm going to start holding myself accountable again.
Yeah, and I think the decision that we kind of made as a group to not focus on the word count and instead focus on the day count and the routine was really the best thing we could have done for this challenge. And it's been really um, getting back in the day routine. I tried to get Jared to join us. I don't know if he got my email yet or not. He's in the westerly time zone from me, so I don't even know if he's awake yet.
Yeah.
Because he tends to be a night owl. So, but it's the, the thing with setting a routine is something that I'm hoping will help more than just me and more than just you, that it will help others. Um, like heart breathings. I looked at Sarah's stuff, and for the way my OCD goal brain works, it was just a lot of busy work and more time spent doing her little morning pages, micro goals, mini goals, quarter goals, week goals, day goals,
Yeah.
quarter goals. And it just, I'm like, so you spend all your time filling out the worksheets and none of your time actually doing the creative processes.
And it works for some people, but it
It
definitely doesn't work for me. I
it it
I will get
yeah,
lost in the what did we call it last week? Um, Procrastinating planning, or
yeah, procrastinating
that procrastinating.
where
That
you're yeah.
it just sucks me in, man. It
Yeah, well,
does.
it's like procrastinativity. You're procrastinating by being productive at other things than creativity. So you're being productive, you have productivity, but it's not the productivity you need. And yeah, I just I heard if doing all the worksheets works for people, yay, I'm so happy for you that it works for you. My brain says you spent all this time working on the outside of this project when you could have been working on the project. And like
Yeah.
I know people like who have Notion and stuff. I know people love Notion. I looked at Notion for 1 week and then deleted it because I spent more time playing with it and tweaking it and doing the things than I did actual working on things.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, Miranda says, while revising, I love using the task blocks to help keep track of my time. HB90 is awesome for time tracking.
That See, and that's what I was saying. It's like that part I really loved. Why? Because it made me really take a, a reality check on how I was using my time, and it made me go, okay, I have 2 hours here. Okay, so I know that that is basically three, maybe four uh, blocks. And so I would check off each block whenever I would go through and do a sprint for it. And it really reinforced again, the habit continuing to go forward. It's just the planner decorations, and like what she was saying with Notion, I did that too. Mine wasn't very fancy though. It was just the plain Notion. So yeah, it's a matter of forcing yourself to go, okay, well, I've got an hour here. And I get the whole, when you're in a corporate setting or you're also doing something else, it's like, okay, well, my brain's just not there yet. So my challenge is to be like, okay, but give yourself a break, but then you've got to push yourself to set time. Keep going. Even if it's just an hour a day, even if it's just an hour a day, okay, I'm going to write for this hour, or I'm going to write for 30 minutes out of this hour, and then I'm going to edit that writing, or whatever, however you do your thing. Do that so that your brain is then getting back in the habit, at least an hour a day. And then if you wind up with more time, oh, 2 hours, oh, maybe 3 hours, and it actually will help, I think, and I'm hoping that it helps.
Yeah. One of the things I did for Nano 2 years in a row, because I wasn't just going for the word count goal, is I set a sprint goal. 100 sprints.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm good with like 1 hour or 90 minutes sprints. I like the really long sprints. Some people can't work that way. Some people, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, that is their block time. And those of us that are like 45 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes. Paper Tiger, she does 3-hour sprints, nothing but writing for 3 solid hours. I need to get up and move around a little bit in that time. But like one of the things,
eye break.
Yeah, is that I was doing for a while that I need to get back into doing was one of the my time blocks. One of the things I would do was I would go and put my laptop. My elliptical has this case where you can set your laptop on it, so you can do your walkies while your computer is scrolling through stuff. Like, and I would set it like whatever I wrote earlier in the day, I would set it up to read that to me so that I could process it and get on there and do my little exercises. Sometimes I will put in something I'm beta reading, like when you sent me the most recent part of Vampires and Vendettas. I was literally listening the first pass through. I just listened to it the first pass through as I'm beta reading, and I was walking around outside, watering the flowers, weeding the garden, listening to the parts. I went back and listened to the other parts leading into this part, so that I could get in the mindset. So yeah, it's getting into a routine of more than just. And it's not just for the writing. It's not just for the writing and the creativity, crocheting and stuff like that. Also having a little bit of movement routine in it helps. Taking eye breaks. They're actually now recommending people stop reading on their devices. Eye experts are saying that if you read on your devices, that you need to read on paper as well. So, reading paper books, reading printouts, takes the strain off your eye from all of the screen time. So it's, there's a lot of things that are just pulling out the energy that we have for our creative routines, and they're like me on the elliptical. You can overlap your creative routine with another routine. Listen to a book or listen to music while you're cooking, while you're folding laundry. It's just, we are all struggling so much with the chaos, just this overwhelming cloud of chaos that keeps us from having this regular period of time during the day to refill our own well, to refill our soul well. So that's the whole thing behind all the words August, and just creative self-care, because we've all lost it. We've all lost that in 2025.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any more questions about this? Any more comments about this? I see that Margaret is come in. Hello, Margaret.
I would say, Renee, about the HB90 method, don't get as granular. The one good thing about her method is it's like a mishmash of several different methods that are out there, and that she's kind of worked them together. And you don't have to use every single portion of it. Don't get as granular as she does. Just my main thing were the time blocks, the using the calendar to be realistic about how much time I actually have in a month, and using the time blocks to be realistic about how much time I have during the week. And then after that, I just make sure and write down my goals for the week, what I definitely have to do, what I want to do, and then see how much time I spend on each one using the little blocks. That way I'm honest with myself instead of guesstimating things and
Yeah.
over guesstimating things, which is what I used to do. And then I would feel like a failure because I didn't get stuff done and I thought I could get stuff done. But being able to actually put it together, I'm like, oh, that was impossible. There's no way I could have done that in that amount of time. That kind of thing. Just like astrology, take what works and leave the rest. That exactly.
Or tarot. It's tarot is a suggestion.
It's not the end all.
It's a meditative practice. It's not these are your cards. Don't go outside today. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard and I mean I love the HB90, the Heart Breathings community. So many wonderful women that I've met in the community. They're so supportive of each other. Do not let the elitist Hearties that only want Hearties in their stream taint you for the rest of them.
Like
Karens,
any group, there's going to be some people that are like
Karens,
cliquish, so don't do that.
there are
Just don't
Karens
do that.
everywhere. And so, yeah, I know Double Down Day just ended. It is a weekend where everybody just works really hard and together, and you stream hop from stream to stream to stream. And a lot of amazing people were hosting streams, and some very not so amazing people were hosting streams. And we're not going to talk about those Karens. But yeah, it's the whole point of what we're doing, of what they do, is getting yourself in the routine of writing for your writerly success, for your creative success. So it's all about working together, supporting each other, because if indie authors don't support each other, nobody's going to support us, because
proper time management is the key. And as soon as I learn how to do that, you're how old, babe? How old?
Time management. The thing is it does. I am super time management person. I have always been, ever since I was a little girl. I was a time management person. And the last 2.5 years, 5 years have been complete and utter stress for me, who always time manages. So yeah.
And part of it is the fact that you can't time manage. So many things are up in the air and chaotic right now that you want to time manage, but you can't.
Yeah.
We're the bottom of the pyramid. Yeah.
Yeah, it just really, it's so many different things. And so, yeah, just the thing we're just encouraging is take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day. Just 5 days a week, 2 days a week, whatever fits your schedule. Take some time for you, take some time to refill your creative well, and to start building a routine that can carry you through these chaotic times. Care Bear support stare. Dawn says, I know there was a time in my life when I was good with time management and routine, but since COVID, so much has changed. No lie. I've had 5-year planning with each year that passes. I still have a 5-year plan.
That's been seriously since we moved here. We had a 5-year plan, and then things poof.
I do chores while listening to the lives. Yeah, me too. Me too. I spend some of the sprints doing housework, watering the garden, doing whatever. Kept also saying, Maggie, I've been time managing since kindergarten, but the stress of the last 6 years imploded that. Yeah. We're all going through it, and it's been.
You're not alone.
You're not alone, because everybody here, we're all in the same boat. And some of us are bailing, and some of us are paddling, and some of us are just turning the rudder, so we're going around in a circle.
We're just trying to keep going. We're trying to stay afloat. So
see, Miranda's listening and washing dishes. The perfect example. All right, Rachel, do you want to drop the link for your upcoming stream?
Oh yeah, let me do that real quick.
Rachel is coming up next for the AWC, or not AWC. Oh my God, I was talking with Shannon earlier about the AWC meeting today that I'm not attending.
So all the words August.
All the words August. I blah, blah. When did the clock get promoted? I have no idea. Hi, Inca. Here's another person who does too much.
Well, the thing is when you become a freelancer or a writer or a gig person, you are actually taking on the same kind of responsibilities that a corporate person would have. You've got to do your time management. You got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and anybody else that you've got contracted to, and you've got to make sure that you're taking care of your budget and everything else. So it's kind of like, okay, well, there again, taking care of all of this important stuff, and where's my writing going? The whole point of this was to write. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Everything.
I'm going to give you the link because it didn't do the link. So I'm going to put it in Instagram.
I was recently reflecting and realized that the failed job search in 2019-2020 damaged my confidence more than I admitted myself. Yeah. It's like every year is stacking on top of every other year. Let me check something. Hold on. I'm going over to the AuthorTuber page. Okay. Jared is going to be streaming at 1:00 Pacific time. I am going to be co-hosting with him. Hold on a second. I am grabbing the link for Rachel's stream, which is coming up at 10:30. 10:30 my time.
12:30 my time for Eastern.
All right, there we go. Links. We have linkages. Yeah, I'll be on with Kaufman later, and Rachel is going at 10:30. So it is our 12:30 Eastern time. Sorry, 10:30 Mountain time. I am stuck in my time zone today. Okay, so this is going to give us, if we go now, it'll give us about a 25-minute break. Get out, walk around, do some stretch, refill the cuppa, or make yourself something besides coffee to drink. Yes, I'm talking to myself.
Inga says,
I had a huge break from writing when I was taking care of my mom. And when I told my husband I had to get back into writing after my break, he reminded me it wasn't a break. That is true. That is true.
Yes.
Time management, I was pretty good at when I was younger, but the cancer and the kiddo happened, and brain fog seemed to affect all things. Yes. All right. Bean Cat just dipped into my breakfast bowl of berries and yogurt and mountain cake. Well, I can't wait to see what comes up on the carpet later.
Oh no!
Margaret made something that sounded amazing. I could never find the recipe on the community tabs, but it is a brown butter pound cake.
That sounds good.
I know, right? And of course, it wouldn't be a stream with you and me if we didn't eventually talk about food and how much we love food and all the different kinds of food.
We're foodies.
Yes. You're very welcome, ladies. Okay, that's
come see us later.
Yes, come see us.
Take a break.
Visit us over on Rachel's channel, and we will see you when we see you. Bye.